Welcome to this small video presentation on process optimization. My name is Wouter, consultant for AP support, solutions and finance. I have dedicated 9 years of my life to optimizing processes with IT solutions. And I would like to share some information based on some questions that I will get. And one of the questions that I get is, okay, to what degree should businesses optimize their processes within the next 3 or 5 years? So let me get to the main question. Well, the main question is that financial and administrative companies can and need to optimize their processes significantly to stay competitive. And you can say, well, okay, but what is enough? What goal should I set? What target should I set? Should I go for 10% or 20%? What should I do? And we say within the next 3 or 5 years. So the question here comes, what target of optimization should companies set for themselves? And the answer to this question actually really determines how companies should strategically invest into the future and how they should do that. Because if you have to optimize only 10% of your company, well, the amount of innovation is very low. But if you go higher, you have to do much more. So what is achievable? And this is actually a very important question, because if it's achievable to get a high degree of optimization, well, you can bet that your competitors will achieve that result. And maybe not all, maybe not few, but even if one competitor can get there, you are in a disadvantage. And that's actually the point. So what is achievable? And the answer to that question, which I would like to state, is I would argue that 80 to 90% of all processes within the financial and administrative industry is can be that processes within the financial and administrative industry can become 80 to 90% more efficient within the next 3 or 5 years. What kind of arguments can I give to build my case that this number is realistic? Well, I have three kinds of arguments. These kinds of arguments are either historical. Let's look at some technologies that are currently present and can be used to say, well, in the past it has been done. Then a predictive argument, and also a logical argument where I will state, well, these are the reasons. If you look at the process from an abstract point of view, you can also say, well, it is achievable. Okay. Historical. Let's look at, for instance, one of the examples is postage or messaging. Well, we used to do that with letters via the postal service, which was very time consuming. You had to wait at least 1 day or maybe 2 days before it arrived, and a postman and postal service were needed to actually make sure that your letter got to the recipient. Currently, we have, of course, email, which is extremely fast, extremely agile, extremely efficient. And you would say in most of the cases, it is 99% more efficient than the postal service. And look at the time and the speed at which this has succeeded, actually, going from letter messaging to digital messaging. Well, again here, we can see that 80 to 90% is very much achievable, has been achieved going from one technology to the other. A second example, historical example, is a video rental service. Compare that to, for instance, streaming services like Netflix. Um, this, in my time, renting a video costs about €7.50, and you only got one video for one day. Now, look at what Netflix gives you in return for 1 month. Well, it is extremely much more, it's a wider scope that you have access to, and the cost of it to deliver it has been significantly reduced. You do not need a big store with video boxes. You do not need any hardware. You just need the software and the connection to your smart TV. So this is again, you see that reduction of cost has been significantly reduced. Now a predictive argument, and I would like to talk then about the self-driving car and also the sharing economy, because one of the predictions is that if the self-driving car is present, car ownership will be greatly reduced, because once you have self-driving cars, why would you need to own a car? You just need a vehicle that functions like your own personal taxi. You call the car with your app, and then you simply drive off to your destination. It put it brings you to your destination, puts you off, and then you can actually it parks itself or goes off to get another person who needs to go to another destination. You do not need to own the car, and the car can go by itself to the gas station or to the mechanic and stuff like that. You do not need to have the hassle. You only need the mobility. So in the self-driving car, you also have the sharing economy. So ownership will no longer be necessary of the car. And this will actually reduce the process of mobility extremely, because within the Netherlands we have about 8 million car owners. So you have 8 million cars sold to people who stand in most of the time on parking spaces and stuff like that, occupied park spaces and things like that. And the funny thing is that on the busiest day, on traffic, on rush hour, actually the amount of vehicles in the Netherlands is only 600,000, and that's on the busiest time on the day. So what that means, if you go from a self-driving sharing car model, you can reduce the number of cars necessary by a theoretical amount of 92.5%. So that means that with only 7.5% of the cars available, you can achieve the same mobility. So again, here you see, if you have, even in this economy, you really have this enormous reduction capacity. Now, when we go now to the third argument, which is the logical argument. And when we talk about data transformation processes within the financial industry, most of the processes were like getting your mortgage accepted. So in the old time, the first step was gathering and registering the information. And we used to do that via an interview. And that was the first step within a financial or administrative process. You simply gather the information, and you did that by a specialist who asked you questions and filled in a form for you. And from that, then you had that step actually, which was the information gathering process. Currently, you can do that online, and which means that the customer can do that. which means you do not have to have an interviewer. And especially with some cases like chat robots or artificial intelligence, the computer algorithm can also ask some questions based on the information given to say, hey, I sense that you also have this kind of information. Can I ask a little bit more about that? And that can be done via an algorithm and simply online, so that no resources have to be spent in gathering and registering the information needed for the process. Because in the second process, you have the transformation where you take all the information and then transform it into, well, your mortgage has been approved, or no, sorry, your mortgage has been declined. So this is actually the transformation process. And again, this was done by someone judging the information and then actually applying a set of rules by saying, well, sorry, no can do, or yes, we can do this for you. Now, again, this is can be done via an algorithm. So via the algorithm, you can actually then transform the information. So what does this mean? Well, it means actually that the entire process, the administrative process, can be done by simply a customer online registering it and then actually transforming the information in an approved or not approved signal to the customer immediately. So, and when you look at this, the only costs that you need are for maintaining the system in which the customer can register, and that the transformation algorithm is being used. So this is actually the only cost needed. So you only have maintenance for the system, and you also need some cost for control, because you do need to check up, and in some cases, well, does the system still work properly? So this is the only cost needed. Well, and if you look at that, the cost that you need to make up a system and to add some control is very, very low indeed, and is actually not more than 5 to 10%. So again, here, if that is only the cost needed, then it means that you have an 80 to 90% reduction. So these are my arguments that companies need to set their goals to 80 to 90% within 3 or 5 years to remain competitive. Well, has been my presentation. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I will try to check up on them. And thank you very much. Until next time. Well, bye.